Welcome to another edition of International Soccer Break. I'm your host, Sahil, here with Rahi, who's live in London for the Euros, and Ishana joining us as well today for Group E. We have reached Group E now, and this is a very interesting group because it's a little bit of I don't want to say smaller nations, but there's let me show this graphic right here because there's some teams that I think people may not be as familiar with as some of the more stalwarts of Europe. So let's show it. What do you guys think about this particular group?
I think it's the group of life. This is the group of life. There's possibilities, endless possibilities. You have a Belgian team who, well, let's see. Kevin De Bruyne said they were too old in the World Cup. So if they were too old in the World Cup, then how old are they now? But interesting, new coach, still the same drama surrounding them. We'll get to that in a second. But all these other teams, Slovakia, Romania, Ukraine, all did remarkably well to come through the qualification. All have an opportunity to surprise some people in this tournament.
Yeah, I think people will look at this group and say it is the quote unquote easy group or like the breezy group. But as we know, once we get to the Euro and once the tournament starts, that's just never the case.
Yeah, cool. So let's get into it. Let's break down and go team by team. All right, let us start out with, of course, the team that has had more than just struggles to get in terms of soccer or football, but have had a lot more to deal with, and that, of course, is Ukraine. So, just to preface this, last time around for the World Cup, missed out thanks to a Gareth Bale goal in Wales. So, they missed out, didn't make it to that tournament. And it was looking like a very difficult road in this one as well, due to a very controversial incident in Italy, but was able to prevail through after that through the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, just huge credit to Ukraine. Like this is, first of all, this is so much hope, just not just nationally for them, but internationally. I think it's such a powerful symbol, but also, keep in mind they had to play all their home matches away, because of the war. And that is the amount of, tumult that they've had to face as a team, both because of what's happening, geopolitically and actually there and also on the pitch. They've had a tough road. So I think it's just really, it just shows their tenacity. And I'm sure the Ukrainian people are very proud and hopeful.
Yeah, it's a talented team, right? It's a talented team. Players all over big clubs and big teams. Of course, Mudryk is the well-known guy up front. Zinchenko on this team as well. Yarmolenko's still there. I mean, this is a team that has the talent and has the creativity going forward to really trouble a lot of teams. They've always been dangerous down the wings.
Yeah,
It's a very
Artem
tricky
Dovbyk, the
team to play
the
against.
top scorer in La Liga this year. So of course, many will remember him for scoring that epic goal against Sweden last Euros. But yeah, Rahi, yeah, you were saying moving forward up front,
Yeah,
very strong.
some people are honestly saying they might top the group, which I wouldn't put that past them.
Yeah, there's a lot behind them. I mean, coming to the tournament, qualifying for it in the way they did, they have to believe they can come through anything. And then the talent that they have, those two things in combination, they're a very, very difficult team to play against. And if they do grow into this tournament, you wouldn't want to play them in the next round.
I think that the trouble with this team is more in the back. Like you mentioned, some of the names up front and obviously in the midfield. I think their defense is, of course, something that needs to be, always needs to be strong in tournaments like this. And I think that's where we're not 100% sure. But then behind the defense, you obviously have Andre Lunin, right, who's been top class goalkeeper for Real Madrid. So a lot of experience there.
Yeah, I mean, a great goalkeeper, supplanted in the final, unfortunately, by someone who's not going to be at this Euro. We'll talk about in a second. But Lunin was fantastic for Real Madrid in many ways. He's a little weak on crosses at times, but playing at the biggest club in the world, and that helps. Honestly, it helps to have that leadership in the back.
Okay, so moving on to the next team that we'll cover, which is Slovakia. Now, this is very interesting squad. They've made it to the last couple Euros. They're the type of team that in the qualification leading up to the to Euros didn't have a very hard group. Their most signature win was probably against Luxembourg, and that's the team they actually piped to make it to the second place in the group, and then got through based on that. But no more Marek Hamšík. It's a different generation of players, right, Rahi?
Yeah, and you'll see that with a lot of the. We'll talk about Romania in a second, but these are two teams that have had their heyday perhaps in the past, and they don't have quite the talent anymore. Slovakia doesn't. There's still a few players on this team, particularly in the midfielders where they're strong. Defensive midfielders where they're quite good. But this is not a team with that many household names, a team that's a bit tricky in terms of how to evaluate them. They were in an easy qualifying group. They came through, but you really question, how good were they? How good are they? And we'll learn a lot about them during the tournament itself because they haven't really been tested coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, keep in mind this is their third consecutive Euro. So I think, they're walking in with a lot of experience. They did miss out on the 2022 World Cup. And they've had some coach changes and had to kind of deal with some upheaval there. I will say they have looked decent in their recent friendlies, and they got a 4-0 win against Wales. I have said that this is, I don't know why. It's actually, there's no reason. Call it my Pisces intuition. But I think this is going to be a tournament of the back line. This is going to be a tournament of strong goalkeeping and a strong defensive line. And I think, they had that easily could have come away with a loss against Norway. And strong goalkeeping saved that penalty from Holland. So, that's something. I think that I think they're gonna go in with some fire under their belly.
Yeah, you mentioned defense. Obviously, they have Martin Skriniar, who's of course playing at PSG. So that's a strong stalwart in the back. I think it's a team that other teams will, you know, probably you're always going to get a tough game against them, but other teams will expect a victory maybe against Slovakia, but at the same time that's where Slovakia can be dangerous, I think.
Yeah, very much a dark horse, I think.
Yeah. For the group, of
For the
course.
group.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to Romania. Now, it's interesting. Rahi, obviously, there's a team we followed way back in 1994 when the original Haji was playing, but there's a little bit of legacy, right, in this team.
There is. George Hagi, who was they called Maradona of his region, the Carpathians. He was an incredible player, but his son is now on the team and one of the talisman for this team. It's very interesting. Very rarely do you see the son of a famous footballer that famous in Romania, make it to this level. So he's on the team. He's an interesting player. He had a loan move that didn't really work out so well. But he's a player that has scored some big goals for Romania. It's very interesting to see him. And because of who he is, because of his last name, I think he carries with him a lot of weight of expectations. It's an intriguing team, Romania is, because more so even than Slovakia, than Ukraine, you're very unlikely to know any of the players on this team. A lot of them play domestically. And yet, really impressive in qualifying.
Yeah.
Very impressive qualification for this tournament. Didn't concede a lot, won some big games. It's very surprising in many ways to see a team comprised mostly of domestic players. So surprising that I just lost my headphone, but it's a team that is domestically, mostly people play in Romania. How many of you have seen the Romanian league? I don't think have you watched
No,
a minute of the Romanian league?
I have not, but Ishana, beating Switzerland is not an easy task to do to win the group.
I mean, yeah, they were unbeaten in qualifiers. They topped their group. They have a very young team, which is super exciting. I think they've demonstrated also, to your point, just having a very strong defense, a very strong back line. You got Dragishin, who plays for Tottenham, center back. We got, they're solid. I think their issue is going to be finding a way to score. I could see what could happen is they just are defensively just killing it. And I think that is going to be their weak spot that is where they may be stuck. So it'll be exciting though.
They're always so technical, Romania. No matter, I mean, they're just so good technically on the ball.
Yeah. It's gonna be tough. I mean, I think all these three teams we just mentioned, Ukraine, Slovakia, and Romania, it's very tight in there. And we'll get to predictions a little bit later. But okay, let's finish with the team that we all want to talk about. Now, when we were young, we were very into a comic book strip, which is by a Belgian author named Hergé, and the name of the comic is Tintin. For those who were familiar with that, there was a lot of drama and adventure in all that. But Ishana, I gotta say, I think the drama and adventure in Belgium, the Belgium national team, it far surpasses the drama that was in the Tintin comics.
Oh yes. Okay, so I should start by saying, I'm wearing some Belgian colors. I am the guest for Belgium, not because I am Belgian, not because I even root for the team from a result standpoint, but I root for the team heavily in terms of entertainment. Okay. I have pitched Ryan Murphy and Andy Cohen to cover like Ryan Murphy feud, Belgian national team infighting. Fight Club could be the Belgian national team. I mean, this team is riddled with drama, starting with the fact that they only took 25 players out of a possible 26. I mean, who does that? It just makes absolutely no sense. I mean, it is just the funniest thing is like, I made a video about how this is sort of the last we'll probably see of this golden generation that never lived up to their expectations, including bringing Witzel out from retirement, which is just amazing. And like it all started, of course, with Courtois, who made, as he does, clowning around, decided to get mad about not being named captain during international camp, then goes on his like private jet and says, oh no, it was due to injuries. See, here's a picture of me with my foot. Is he coming off of an injury? Yes. Did he also kill it during the Champions League final? Yes. So, it's funny that they're literally missing the strongest Belgian player, in my opinion. They're going to suffer. But I will say, replacing it with another secret weapon who I think is very underrated, which is Doku. There's so much to unpack here. I mean, I wish we could do an entire segment just on Belgium, but holistically, yeah, my thoughts are I am hoping that it's just going to erupt into a gigantic fight on the pitch where we say bye to this golden generation in style after they get out of the group and then they get toppled after.
Yeah, so Rahi, amidst all that drama, there's actually a lot of good players. That's the shocking part of all this. They just don't seem to be able to get along. Give us some of the names. Some of the top guys.
They keep producing player after player. I mean, Doku is a huge one, an incredible player. But don't forget about the main man himself, Kevin De Bruyne, still on this team, still playing very, very well. He's the captain. He's the main man, and he's still an incredible player.
And honestly,
he makes this team go.
De Bruyne, if he plays like he was playing in City recently, is arguably for me, it's the best I've ever seen him play. So
I mean, yeah.
Again,
the list goes on and on. Trossard, Lukaku, Tielemans. It's just a list of Onana. It's a list of some of the top players in Europe.
Yeah, and we don't know like if Vertonghen is going to be fit against defensively. Like again, I'm going to say their defensively is where they're going to have issues, starting with, in my opinion, the omission of Courtois. I mean, he is still one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and I think that's going to really hurt them. And, he supposedly has some beef with Tedesco, and maybe that factored into it.
Have beef with?
I know. I mean, that's
his beef with everyone, but he's an incredible goalie. Tedesco said we want to keep the squad small. Keep the squad small, so you put 25 into the 26. I mean, I think it makes no sense. Tedesco, by the way, is like really young. I think he's 38 or something. So it's the whole. He's probably like involved in the drama himself, right? He's one of the high schoolers as well. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous.
I mean, this is a team that should do very well, and you never know with them, and it's just so funny because yes, you have these top goal scorers, all these guys. But I could also see them fumbling in the back and some issue, and then there's an own goal, and then they fight each other in the locker room afterwards. I mean,
Sean, I think you're spot on. The defense is where this team has the problem. Like I think that's where the issue is going to be. The fact they brought back Vertonghen, who's 37, that tells you everything just in there. I mean, yeah, sure, up front you have Lukaku running at you and Trossard and De Bruyne right behind them. It's difficult to deal with that, but
so some vets too, but a lot of also other young players too who are exciting and probably a little bit more evolved than this generation of players.
Lukaku doesn't get the credit he deserves. I think he has had some terrible spells at clubs. He's had some missed chances, but if he's on, he's so dangerous a player. And hey, by the way, he's also Belgium's leading scorer all the time. So it's not like as if he hasn't scored for this team.
Yeah. Okay, moving on now. I'm going to put everyone on the spot here. Rahi, who do you have getting through from this group?
It's an interesting one. I do have Belgium going first. I think they're too talented, and a lot of their players have had incredible seasons. You mentioned Trossard, you mentioned De Bruyne, Doku. I think they go first, and they do it comfortably. Second place is challenging because I think Ukraine is going to have the confidence and going to have be buoyed by the crowd. So I think they go second, then Romania third, but it's going to be tight. This Romania team could very well surprise people.
Shauna?
Okay, I have Belgium, and I would say, honestly, I want to say Ukraine, but I think based on recent performance, I'm going to go with Slovakia getting out of the group.
Interesting. And I'll make it a full house. I'm going to go with Belgium and Romania as the second team. And, so we'll complete the whole triumvirate. So, okay, we'll finish with our fun segment. That's, of course, what we've been doing for all the Euro videos, which is we're naming the most famous person from each of the countries. Let's start with the drama themselves, Belgium. Of course, guys, who do you got for this?
Well, I want to say Courtois just because I think he is sort of like the epicenter of all the drama, starting with committing some adult or sleeping with De Bruyne's ex-girlfriend. However, I'm going to go with Tintin.
Okay. I didn't say it has to be a physical person, but if we had to, probably what.
Well, I mean, there is one player on Belgium who resembles Tintin in a lot of ways, has the Tintin look about him. And he's also, in my opinion, the most famous real Belgian out there, and that's Kevin De Bruyne. So they might be one and the same. Tintin and De Bruyne might be the same.
So either you go with him or his namesake. So cool. Let's move on to Slovakia. For this one, there's a lot of hockey players out there. There was some debate as to whether Martina Hingis is Slovakian, but she obviously represented Switzerland in tennis. So I'm going with Petr Sagan, who's a famous cyclist. So that's who I'm going to go with for Slovakia. Moving on to Romania. Guys, couple choices here.
Sebastian Stan.
Sebastian Stan, famous
Nadia Comaneci, who people still know. Very, very well known early days. George Hagi, but mostly in Romania.
Yeah. So I think it's between those three. Who are we going? Just Nadia Comaneci, just for history's sake?
Maybe Sebastian Stan, actually, I think. Yeah.
It's probably Sebastian Stan this day and age. Let's be honest. So I think after the Marvel movies, that's got to be him. All right, finishing off with, of course, Ukraine. I think there's only one right answer for this, given the current juncture in time.
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah.
And that of course, is Vladimir Zelensky. Yeah, the president of Ukraine.
Yeah. Former comedian turned president.
Yeah. He's multi-talented.
Inspiring story for sure, and we look forward to more inspiring moments here at the European Championships. If you're enjoying these videos, please subscribe to the channel. We are very close to the start of Euro. It'll be exciting. Let us know in the comments who you think is going to make it through from this group. And as I always say, keep watching the beautiful game, and we'll see you guys later.
The real footballers of Belgium. That should be what it's called.